Good afternoon. It's January 3rd, 2025. I'm going to be continuing on with the newest information from officials and others about the attacks, the terrorist attacks on New Year's. So we're going to start with the backgrounds of these guys, of Jabbar and Livesberger. And both the men were divorced, had been married more than once, and one of them was divorced, Jabbar, and then the other one was married, but his wife was planning to, or believed he was cheating on her, so then she was looking at divorce. Both men were Army veterans. They both rented their trucks from the company Turo. They both apparently were not happy because of the divorces. And they both served at, as been heard, Fort Bragg, although Fort Bragg, a lot of military go through there, and yes, it's a PSYOP place where they do all that kind of PSYOP programs. So, just starting off with that. Listening to Kim on this yesterday, she had a segment on this. The Ballards, I think they're called Ballards. It's a contraption that you put up on the road. It stops cars from going through. Like usually they'll put up a metal thing with spikes so that you can't go that way. Apparently that did not happen in New Orleans. Those were down that night when they were doing the New Year celebrations. And she was questioning how he knew that those ballards, or whatever they're called, were not working. Okay. The official story sounds very strange. Doesn't make too much sense to me. As I just said, some of this stuff doesn't sound right. Jabbar didn't have a lot of money because he was struggling as a real estate agent, and with his divorces and owing, he's in debt. Okay. Apparently, he put out some videos like hours before I think he was even driving to Louisiana at the time, and he supposedly had said he had this desire to kill, after he converted to Islam. Whether that was after he was divorced or in the process of being divorced, I'm not quite sure, but somehow he went that direction, and he says that now, and people are going to say, oh, see, Islam, but I tend to believe it's more of a mind control thing, but who knows? He could have gotten somehow coerced into that, to think that way. That's why I'm saying it feels more like mind control. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to give you some information through Kim's video, just a little bit on Livesberger's background.
Livesberger's, some of his work history. He's been in the military forever. He's a U.S. Army Green Beret. He had a distinguished military career that included multiple deployments. Here are the details regarding the deployments. Afghanistan. He was deployed twice to Afghanistan during his service. We don't know the specific dates, but they occurred during his time with the Green Berets. He also deployed to various other countries like Ukraine, which is kind of strange, right? Are we supposed to be there? Are we supposed to have Green Berets in Ukraine, guys? Tajikistan. Are we supposed to have people there? Georgia. Were we supposed to have guys in Georgia to fight Russia? Was that something we were doing? And the Congo. Places I think none of us really thought U.S. troops were supposed to be, but apparently this Green Beret was. Those deployments reflect his extensive experience in international operations, particularly where U.S. military involvement was focused on counterterrorism and training allied forces. So that's what he was there doing, I guess, training soldiers to fight Russians and others. Leibelsberger enlisted in the Army in 2006. He joined the Green Berets about a year later as a communications specialist. He spent 18 of his 20-year military career, or 19 of his 20-year, or 18 of his 19 years, I believe, with the Special Forces. He did receive 2 Bronze Stars, including one awarded for valor in combat, along with other commendations such as Combat Infantry Badge and an Army Commendation Medal with Valor. Also, what's interesting about this history that he's got right here is, let's zoom in on that. Let's show this full screen. You can see that he was most recently a remote and autonomous systems manager. Remote and autonomous systems. Also, down below at the hyperspectral imaging, that company, he was a contractor, and he engineered and he focused on explosive devices, like finding explosives. It was explosive imaging. So he was familiar with explosives. He was familiar with autonomous systems, and he's got a Tesla Cybertruck that has an autonomous driving mechanism to it, and it's loaded with explosives. So this guy should have known both of those systems quite well. Now, the Vegas police found inside the car, they said, first and foremost, we found a military identification, which is what we showed you, the military identification badge. They also said, let's show that badge so people could see that. This was found inside of the car, and the car was allegedly, the body inside was so charred, they couldn't identify the body, but this is the badge that they were able to recover. They also said that they found his passport, a Desert Eagle 50 caliber semi-automatic pistol, an SLR Model B30 semi-automatic firearm, a number of fireworks, an iPhone, a smartwatch. Several credit cards were also in the name of the subject. He's from Colorado Springs, Colorado, born July 22nd, 1987. His body was burnt beyond recognition, and I do still not have confirmation 100% that this individual was inside our vehicle. So they still have not identified him. That is according to the Las Vegas Police Department.
Okay. So we learned that this man who blew up this truck in front of the Trump's Tower was a decorated veteran, and he was still serving active duty, and he was very good with autonomous stuff, and obviously weapons, as she had said. And you have to be if you're a Green Beret. Those are top special ops military members. People are wondering how, if he was a top, knew how to do these things, why he had this simple fireworks and, rudimentary bomb materials in that particular vehicle. And it didn't make much sense. Plus the fact that he was shot in the head. He supposedly took his own life, and we're not sure how that happened. He couldn't take his life before it was set up for the bomb to go off. So perhaps he set the bomb to go off before he killed himself. That's a possibility. Somebody else said, if he really was a Trump supporter, The only logical explanation is that Leibelsberger was shot in the head by the real bomber, who then used Tesla's self-driving feature to summon the car to the front of the Trump hotel and detonated his explosives. Maybe. Perhaps. So now I'm going to share what I saw on Lou's show last night, and let's see, actually, it's going to be on, it was supposed to have been on Colin's thing. Oh boy, I didn't find it in time. So, okay, I'm going to go back here. I'm just going to look through Lou's. And so this is what Colin Ruck had said, reported yesterday.
Leibelsberger says he was, they're saying that he was a big Trump supporter. So they're questioning the incident. The uncle of Leibelsberger told the Independent that he is confused by the explosion because his nephew could rig a bomb to blow up. Oh, basically, he's confused because how in the world can his nephew rig a bomb to blow up half the hotel if he really wanted to do damage, or he could? So he was...
Yeah, he's saying he could do that because he has that skill, okay? He used to have all patriotic stuff on Facebook. He was 100% loving the country. He loved Trump, and he was always a very, very patriotic soldier, a patriotic American. It's one of the reasons he was in special forces for so many years. It wasn't just one tour of duty. Matt was a very skilled warrior, and he would be able to make it if it was him. And if he did this, he would have been able to make a more sophisticated explosive than using propane tanks and camping fuel. Exactly. Let me go on. Oops, he went too fast. See if I can catch him. So, okay. I'm sorry. He just went way too fast. Let me try again. Some of it doesn't make sense when he had the skills and ability to make something more, let's say, efficient. His skills were enormous from what he had been taught in the military. He could have fashioned a bomb that would have obliterated half this hotel if he seriously wanted to hurt others. That's his family members, what they're saying. And again, of course, he had the skills to do this. Which, again, makes this stuff not make sense. Okay? Let's see here. After all that, and we go over all these things with these two guys that I just went over with you, the next thing I'm going to go into is, let's see. All right, we have this video. Fiorella Isabel shared this 13 hours ago. Breaking: Jenny Terr, reporter for the New York Post and raging Zionist with Israeli ties, magically gets access to Sam Sud Din Jabbar's place and finds an open Quran and a bomb-making station, proving he's an ISIS terrorist. Okay.
We're here inside the New Orleans terrorist home. You can see that it's been clearly destroyed, the door at least, from the FBI raid yesterday. But if we walk through the home, we see some signs of what he was up to. He had this work area here.
I just want to interrupt this for just a minute, because there's no way in the world that she would have been granted access into Jabbar's home, which was a crime, was of a suspect that they went through and have evidence, collecting evidence there, and they still have it out. So that would have been cordoned off with police tape. The fact that she's in there is fishy, okay? Fishy, to say the least.
Lots of different chemicals laid around, and different electronics. This is, again, a work setup. Left receipts. It's very unkempt in here. If we go over here, actually, you can see the Department of Justice documents here with the search warrant and
yeah, it's all nicely laid out for you.
Here, which seems to be a lot of chemicals. Again, just left in disarray. There's a bedroom back here, and what appears to be his collection of religious materials, his Qurans, an open Quran with a passage there, as well as even the Bible here, but mostly books on Islam, and his prayer rug just to the left of me here. And if we go back, there's another bedroom here. You can see he left all these belongings, contact lenses, personal belongings, his bathroom. This seems to be some sort of workspace, again, with other chemicals here. The light's still on. Some kind of station set up here. We're not really sure what that was for. In, what we can assume was also a bedroom. You can see clothes left here. And just a sign that someone was here up until those last few moments.
Okay. This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's so ridiculous. I can't even get through the whole thing. Well, of course, all this stuff is still there. Where else was he going to take it? Did you think he was moving out? I mean, because he knew he was going to die, so he decided. I'm not sure about that. After watching this, I'm not sure he was really thinking he was going to die. Okay, I didn't get that message from that. But the whole thing is ridiculous. She never would have been allowed in there without. I mean, that's just, you never see that for suspects. They're cordoned off. Their houses, wherever it is they're working on, they cordon off. Okay. Now, we shared all that. Okay, we shared all that of. It's funny because I guess, in this instance, instead of cordoning off like they usually do, I guess they did what the what the FBI, the opposite, what the FBI did in Butler by hosing off all the DNA evidence on the roof, within not long after the shooting and everything happened. It was ridiculous. This whole thing is just. How could anybody believe any of this? Now, again, I'm going to go back to okay, I'm going to go back to this again about the Project Bluebird, which is an offshoot of the MK Ultra. Apparently, they're connected, and as I said in my last video, its experiment was a signature experiment conducted by the CIA, which involved behavior modifications, interrogation, and mind control on military members and other individuals without their knowledge or consent. The project was created in 1949 and was an umbrella program spawned from the U.S. government's super secret Project Paperclip, which brought hundreds of Nazi scientists in to America after World War II. These scientists were experts in brainwashing and other mind control methods, and some were even known war criminals. Okay. Like we go over again, these were used. Okay. These experiments connect on military members without their knowledge. Spanned several decades. And I'm going to ask again, why do you think they stopped now? If they haven't been held accountable, they admitted this. What happened to them? Did they go to jail? Did they get, I mean, were they put in jail? No, not that I've seen. So, and let's not forget that they are quoted by saying on these experiments, they quoted saying that their whole aim of this Bluebird project was to get control of an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will and even against fundamental laws of nature, such as self-preservation. Now, free will, self-preservation are from God. And the fact that these human beings were trying to take away God-given gifts from God to other humans is demonic, satanic, and is from the devil. There's no other word for it. It's actually, it almost is blasphemous because you're going against God on this. Very terrible. And so anyway, and so they had all these other experiments they were doing. The Edgewood, I mentioned the Edgewood Arsenal experiments yesterday. Low-dose chemical warfare, all that. Then we have the zinc cadmium sulfide gas release, 1953. The U.S. military released clouds of zinc cadmium sulfide gas over several U.S. cities, including Winnipeg, St. Louis, Minneapolis, Fort Wayne, the Monocacy, River Valley in Maryland, and Leesburg, Virginia. The intent was to determine how efficiently they could disperse chemical agents. This experiment involved military personnel and civilians without their knowledge or consent. Did anybody else know? I'd heard about this, but did you all know this? That they sprayed this gas over these particular cities without any knowledge of the public or the military? And they were seeing how the chemicals would be dispersed. What other things are they spraying over us? I mean, other than the glyphosate and, toxic stuff in our food, agriculture thing. I mean, how do we know? Where I heard that the drones were spewing stuff. Who knows? The fog that we've been hearing about. Who knows? The fact that this has happened, these, and then the other one is the U.S. Army and Navy conducted experiments in New York and San Francisco where tens of thousands of people were exposed to the airborne germs Serratia marcescens and Bacillus glug. I can't even pronounce that. These germs pose known health risks before and during the time of testing. There they were again. Exposing all this stuff to anybody. Thousands of people. Again, if you ever would think our government wouldn't do anything to you. Oh, they don't want to hurt their own people. These are examples they do. And if you know the history of false flags, I'm not just talking about throughout the world. I'm talking about in this country, let alone in the other countries. This country, and the same patterns that we see over the years, done by the FBI and the CIA, through all of these things, up to now. Okay, so you go back to Pearl Harbor, and even the Maine. You can go back to Pearl Harbor. You can go back to JFK assassination. You go to Oklahoma City bombing. You can go to the 9/11. You can go the Tonkin affair, the Gulf of Tonkin issue before Vietnam, and I mean there is constant. The USS Liberty. There's constant of these things. Okay. Now the other thing I wanted to say was. I have a video from Derek Brose. Well, it's a video from Redacted. You can watch the whole thing. I'm just taking a portion of what he says here that I think is important to know. Derek Brose is an independent journalist Okay? And I'm going to share what he says here regarding, he's talking about the Oklahoma City bombing, the new info on that, but listen to what he says here.
To the pages of history, but we do know for certain that there are so many holes in the official story of the Oklahoma City bombing that what they've told us is just not possible.
And not possible that it was just a singular truck filled with fertilizer explosives that could have brought down this building and killed 168 people. That all sorts of munitions experts have looked at this and studied how much fertilizer. It's basically impossible. Am I wrong? Is there any chance that this could have been that could totally have happened? That it was just it was a boxcar filled with fertilizer, and that's what brought down this entire building.
There is strong evidence that demolition charges were in the building. So I think that at this point, again, we don't know. That evidence has been long taken away and wiped away. But anybody who understands demolition and looks at the building and the blast pattern, it does not seem to indicate something coming from outside going inwards. And there may have been, it appears, where unfortunately directly in the daycare center. The daycare center of the building was kind of in the basement or the lower levels. So the children may have faced direct impacts from, if there were charges inside the building, they probably were there at the basement with the kids.
Can you imagine the sick individuals that are laying these charges ahead of time and knowing where they're laying them, and they know that they're inside of a child's daycare center at the federal building? It's
sorry.
It's hard to imagine and this is, I mean, again, like this might seem kind of fantastical for some folks in the audience who are maybe newer to these ideas, but there's so much compartmentalization. There's so much layers within the U.S. government that we as average citizens without top secret access, etc., do not know about. And there are military soldiers, highly trained special forces that go out and commit operations, and it could be something like this. They may not even be aware of what they're doing. Now, of course, we could imagine if your task for the day is to go put charges in a federal government building, you might have some questions. But these are, of course, the highly trained, highly obedient officers and soldiers who are part of these elite forces, and I don't think they're going to be coming out and speaking publicly anytime soon. There's also, I should say, that there are some theories that Timothy McVeigh was a patsy in the sense that he didn't even know what he was participating. This is one of the things that many of us who study false flags suspect, that sometimes these operations may have, at least the people involved in them, may have believed they were training exercises, and then these training exercises go live. And so, for example, maybe Timothy McVeigh and others thought they were participating in a drill, and then the explosion happens, and the next thing he knows, he's being plastered all over TV as this is the guy behind it, and he never got to speak up about it. He did not fully confess to saying that he was involved in this, but again, they pretty quickly put him to death. Like, that he wasn't allowed to speak to the public. Before you know it, he's being put to death. And
okay, I just wanted to share that his info there, it seems pretty important to also share with you, so that you get an idea of what's been going on and what's possible, what's known, or the history of how things work in our country's government, intel, special ops, and all that. Okay, so if you want to watch the whole thing, you can go to Redacted, their channel, and look that up. Okay, and you can look up Kim's channel and follow her as well. Okay, so with that information, I hope that's helpful to you. I mean, at least gets you pondering, oh, no, I don't know about this. You know, these are just my thoughts that mull in my mind that I'm sharing with you, because it's just ideas that come up for me. Everybody's going to have their own ideas about what they think's going on here on this particular issue that's happened, on New Year's. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for following my channel. And I pray that you all are doing well today. Please, if you haven't, follow my channel, like my video, share my videos, share my channel with others. Just spread the word, and get this video out. Like my videos so that my video will be out there. Hopefully that people will notice, and maybe they'll like them. And I appreciate your support. Until next time.